Swing, 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 swing. Those who check, get caught, taking home, cause I've been in exile from now to Rome, and it's been so long since I see my land, so come save your shit with your mighty hand as the world is cold in the dark of night, mister. Time has come to see the sun's light, while some fight for wealth, we fight for liberty, so to overcome the word is gonna take you and me to bring forth the kingdom, which is our ultimate goal. That's why I'm telling Pharaoh to let our people go. Let our people go. Let our people go. Swing
Hallelujah. You're tuned in to Hebrew Vision Live. I'm your host, Mikhail Korban-Yahu. We're going to open up with a word of prayer, and then we're going to get into our discussion for this evening. So in the spirit of prayer, hallelujah. Yitkadah v'yikadesh shemei rabah, v'yamad divrah keruteh, v'yamelech malkuteh, v'chayachunu v'yamichunu v'chayedu kol beit Israel, b'agalav v'zman kari v'miru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mavorach le'olam ulme almaya. Yit barak v'yishtabach, v'yit pa'ar, v'yit roman, v'yit neseh, v'yit adar, v'yit alei, v'yit alah, shemeda kudasha, berechu, le'elamin kol barakata v'ashirata, tush bechata v'nechmata, damiran ba'alma, v'miru, amen. Magnified and glorified may his name be in the world which he created according to his own will. May his servants be esteemed and established, and let us say amen. May his majesty be revealed in our days and our lifetime and in the life of all Israel swiftly and soon, and let us say amen. Blessed be the name of the Elohim to all eternity. Blessed and praised, honored and exalted, extolled and esteemed, adored and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed be he beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise, and comfort, to which we say amen. We're here with Marvin Robinson. We're going to be discussing tonight the Quindaro ruins live, because we have a concerted effort in this community going on with Marvin Robinson, from my perception, at the head of this matter, who's really taken on a leadership role in making sure that this historical landmark in Kansas City, Kansas is preserved. And so I want to welcome you to the show, my brother.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And thank you for being here today. So tell us about, just your background before we get into the ruins and everything. Who Marvin Robinson is, where you're from, and what path you took to get to where you are today to go about all the organizing and historical efforts you've done to preserve these ruins.
Wow.
That's a lot, right? We're going to get it in, though.
Okay. I'm a native, born right here in Kansas City, Wyandotte County, Kansas. Went to Sumner High School, graduated, attended Emporia State University for a couple of years, and then joined the Navy. I wanted to go into the JO school, the journalist school, and you had to take the entrance exam, so they sent me to operations specialist in the Operations Intelligence Division.
Wow, okay.
And it was really hard. Did the trigonometry, geometry, algebra. Yeah. And I did graduate at Great Lakes, Illinois, as operations specialist, OI division. Was sent to San Diego. Did a shipyard period in Portland, Westpac. Assignment, peacetime veteran. Then when I got out, I went to Temple University in Philadelphia for one school year. Ran out of money, but loved Philly. Yeah. And then when I came back home, because my mother, who's now passed, she said that the establishment, the white circles, were snatching the people's community and heritage in schools in broad daylight, and people were just accepting it. So she needed me to come home to do what I needed to do. And I was like, I need my degree. She's like, you need to get home because we're in trouble.
Wow.
So anyway, I came home, and without a degree, I couldn't actually do journalism, public relations. So I started to do sort of like networking, volunteer work to see who the players were on both sides of the city. Okay. On both sides, Wyandotte County, Johnson County, Jackson County, Missouri. Okay. And then the people were fighting the landfill at Quindaro, and they wouldn't let me on the inside. And then when they lost at the Kansas State Supreme Court, then I had full carte blanche opening and that's when I started my first series of articles in the Call paper.
Okay, let me take you back. You said they wouldn't let you in on the inside. Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, the people wouldn't let me on. They were very concentrated on having car washes, bake sales, raffles to raise money for their lawyers' fees.
And these
were people in the community,
local government figures or grassroots.
The regular residents, the African American community. They were determined to put all their weight behind the lawyers, and when the lawyers lost and had accepted positions outside of the area, career elevations in their respected fields, then there was nobody to be bothered with. And everybody said, well, you can't fight City Hall. And I was like, I'm not trying to fight City Hall, but we have to fight in the court of public opinion because the average person doesn't understand the magnitude. So then it led me into the library here. They referred me to the Isaac Walton League of America. I had never heard of them. And then they referred me to the Public Citizen, which was Ralph Nader's group. Ralph Nader's group referred me to the Citizens Clearinghouse for Hazardous Waste, which Lois Gibbs and her circle had survived Love Canal. I got the book, called them, and they provided technical assistance for free. Mm-hmm. And then,
my goodness.
And so,
aside from the lawyers, huh?
We didn't fool with them.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Aside from the lawyers, all this is happening without the use of...
Yeah, the lawyers had already, after they lost at the Kansas State Supreme Court, the first time I read the article that the Kansas State Supreme Court approved the landfill at Quindaro and all the permits and business license and operation and agreements, memorandums of understanding had already all been signed. I saw red, and the red turned into like blood. Like if you're laying on the beach and looking straight up, you close your eyes, it's like red, and then it just turned into fire.
My goodness. And
I was just like, I'll be, damn, these people have crossed over into hell.
Wow.
And so...
right. Now, what year is this?
1987. So my mother was like, oh, boy, you better get up and go in the cabinet and get one of those values and break it in half. I was like, I don't need a value. Right. We need to get busy.
So just kind of reviewing this.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. This is great. Your mother put the bug in your ear about what was taking place back home.
Right. So they shut down our schools. They had taken away the black schools because we had schools all over the area in the community.
Closing them.
They said they took them to federal court and said if you shut down the African American schools, the black schools, you'll kill the lifeline of the corridor because the black schools are the lifeline, the economic lifeline, the social, the cultural fiber of what makes the community tick, just like all other areas.
So this is a much bigger.
They lost in the federal courts
issue
to stop the closing of the African American schools because teachers used to live in the area. 2 blocks from my house, we had the first black chief of police in the United States, Boston Daniels, who christened a helicopter. But up the street from him was Dr. Coy Gill, pharmacist who had his own pharmacy down on Fish Street. And up from him was James P. Davis, an attorney. And then up and down everywhere were school teachers and professional people mixed right in with the people that worked at General Motors and the packing house.
Right,
and, everybody had a job or 2 jobs.
Right.
It was
the community was more thriving.
Right. And just like Mr. McKelvey, he was a stonemason, but his wife sold encyclopedias in Avon and Mary Kay.
So this is prior to the gangs and the drug issue coming heavy.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say from just listening to what you're talking about that there was a concerted effort to erode the community.
Yes.
And to take away the history, to close down the schools, and to exacerbate and fatten the prison pipeline.
Right.
So you would agree with that?
Oh no, I don't disagree with any of that.
My goodness.
But you asked for a background, so
this is wonderful.
Yeah, we used to have a real community, and I didn't realize that the significance of the damage of the community. To my sister had gotten engaged to this guy from. His people from Louisiana, Mississippi, but he lives in LA. She graduated from USC. Mm-hmm. She did taxes. She's very successful, very very successful now. But when he came here after he proposed to her to meet our family, he had my mother and my sisters and other people. They went shopping and all that, and he said, "Like, show me where y'all grew up." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was like, "Oh, this is elementary school. We went to Dunbar. Paul Lawrence Dunbar Elementary School.
Closed,
vacant lot. Northeast Junior High School, vacant. Sumner High School, now an academy full of non-black people.
Which was at one time exclusively
yeah, that was like
creme
de la creme for
right. It's like the Lincoln in Missouri.
You know, it was the epicenter. You know, even no matter how far back people had graduated, when it was time for basketball games, we would pack Memorial Hall. You know, for the football games, people would pack the stadium and be all around outside. There was no shooting. If people were doing dope, I didn't know they were doing dope. There was, you know, if somebody had a fight, it was a fist fight. Went to Missouri, it might be a fight. One of the black schools over there, somebody might shoot up in there, but nothing like what we have now. Yeah.
So systematically, it was launched upon the black community, this program, so to speak.
Yeah, they kept saying that Brown versus Topeka, if you have mixed race and white students sitting beside black students, that the black students would learn more. But, you know, we were doing fine without all that before that, because we were graduating like 300 to 400 people per year at Sumner High School.
Just some
black families, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Kansas City, Kansas population is about what, 30,000 something, a little more maybe.
Blacks.
Yeah. Well, just the
no. We have. They say we have 170,000
in the greater
in Kansas City, Kansas.
So black population consists about what, 30,000 something maybe.
Yeah, 30 to 40. They always say 30 to 40, but they don't really know because. You know, I did census, you know, and people would not participate in census.
Right.
Because some people say, like, for example, Joe might be staying with his girlfriend, and she's on assistance, and he can't show up on her registry for census taking.
Right.
You know,
crazy. So I think this is a perfect segue to get into the historical aspect of Kansas City, Kansas. Talk about how Kansas City, Kansas was established, and particularly the black community in Kansas City, Kansas. How did this town become a city? You know, and what were the conditions in which they came about?
Are you talking about a more contemporary world?
No, more going back to like the foundation as far as the black community's first footsteps on this side of the water or the Missouri River.
Wow. That's really a complex area. There's so many fields of study and reports.
If you could just summarize it, you know, give us a pretty concise summary. I won't say concise, but give us a good synopsis of what the circumstances were, you know, when Kansas City, Kansas became a beacon for the black community, as far as, you know, with the situation. Of course, we know in the 1800s what took place.
We'll start with the Quindaro site, the Quindaro Freeport of Entry at the mid-1800s. The French-Canadian Wyandot Indians had been allocated 780 acres from former President, I believe, Pierce, and they were in Ohio. The white population started to boom, and so they needed to get them out of Ohio. And so they sent them into Kansas. Kansas was part of the Kansas-Nebraska territory, was not yet a state, and depending on how they would enter the as a pro-slavery or pro-freedom state, was going to tip the scales of balance in Congress, whether the nation was going to go pro-freedom, pro-union, or pro-Confederate.
So industrial or agriculture, really.
Right. And well, the owning of human beings.
Right.
And so the New England Immigrant Aid Society abolitionists were rushing into the interior to make sure that Kansas would join the Union as a free state to help solidify the investments they had made into pro-freedom. Okay, and so then they took and went and had the land from the French-Canadian Wyandot Indians. They had the money from the New England Immigrant Aid Society abolitionists and the women's suffrage movement, and they had the sweat equity and the thirst, the determination, the hunger from the African fugitives on their journey to freedom. So you have this incredible synergy of blending the vision of humanity without bondage. So I wish I could call upon the spirits of some of the many people who have helped me, who have gone on and in their transition, so they could help me right now to communicate with greater sophistication.
No, this is good.
It's been a rough edge.
I can
so many different angles. the male population got sick and tired of ducking and hiding, and then the people come in and pretend like they were pro-freedom during the day. And these were border ruffians, Confederate bushwhackers. They would come and pretend like they were pro-freedom during the day and hang out with the abolitionists and the New England Immigrant Aid Society, the women's suffrage movement, and see the fugitive enslaved Africans milling about the town at Quindaro. And then they would come and capture them and take them back to their so-called rightful plantation or to any, and put them back up on the auction block. So they got tired of that.
If I may.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Introduce that dynamic as far as Missouri-Kansas divide, as far as, the Missouri River.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think just getting into that without really understanding the context for that, historically, what was the circumstance then that brought that dynamic about, where it was so easy to cross these borders from one jurisdiction which recognized enslavement to another jurisdiction which didn't.
Right.
So can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit and then go back to that point? You see what I'm saying?
You asked really good, hard, complicated questions. Okay. The Quindaro Free Port of Entry established in the mid-1800s. Okay. You get different timelines from different books, and I try not to, because I'm not a historian. Right. Because it's too much to try to intake and recall and throw back out. And the least little sentence you make, and somebody be able to say, "Oh, that's such and such a page." I don't get into all that. Right. But anyway, this was the only free port of entry on the Missouri River, and the entire state of Kansas was a major stakeholder in the destination of the country to enter the Union the way that they did. And so the site sits right at the edge of the Missouri River, right out of what is now Kansas City, Kansas, and Platte County, or Kansas City, Missouri, I-635. And to cross the river, they were considered in holy land, holy ground, because they would no longer be held as captive. And it's such an enormous, complicated, intricate history, because when I first started doing the research for my articles in the column, I used to have articles in the column paper from 87 to 92, week for week. And then I went to a place called KKFI with Sister Shariki and Brother Saudi, and I did one night a week from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. And
from 12 to 5?
12 midnight to 5 a.m.
5 hours.
Yeah, and my show was environmental racism. And, so it required continuing the theme of getting information and sharing it with, the listeners, and then going through the personalities with Brother Saudi and Sister
Are those
Shariki. Archived? And at some point we hope to have them digitized. I don't have them. Sister Shariki has them with her in Ghana. And she's hoping to, at some point, when we open up the school over there, the II Academy, it's going to open in Ghana. We tried to do it in Kansas, Missouri, but it's going to open in Ghana. In that process, we hope to, because she interviewed some of the best of the best. Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Joel Fulcron, you name it.
Right.
Mr. Coakley.
Coakley.
I have been to many workshops with him when he used to come to Kansas City at the Creative Center, and try to style my work around, footnoting and bibliographing the who and the where, as well as Bob Lau. Bob Lau hosted us on his show a couple of different times with environmental justice, environmental racism.
It's like boom, just dropping these balls.
So these people,
that's beautiful.
And so people are like, we don't know who got all these awful people. Yeah, and right. But they're not a stakeholder here. But anyway, the sites, the people took and opened up their space, the French Canadian Wyandotte Indians, because they saw these people as human beings with living, breathing cells. They didn't appear to be savage beasts. Right. And so the Wyandotte Indians allowed them to be there, and they worked side by side, and they shared their space, land, and resources with them. And one of the people I like to mention when I do the tours at the site is Clarina I.H. Nichols. She looked out of her window, according to her own diary. These are things that I just drum about.
Say her name again.
Clarina, Claiina, Rina, Clarina,
okay.
I.H. Nichols. She looked out of her window and saw this strange expression on the fugitive children's faces, and determined in her own diary that it was abominable, this expression. They had nothing to do. They weren't allowed to do anything because they were children. But she took and started talking with the other women's suffrage movement persons there who were the spouses of some of the New England Immigrant Aid Society, and some of the New England Immigrant Aid Society took them on Native American spouses while they were here, or mates. But anyway, they took and made them go to school. And in her journey, she said that they would need to be well learned. In a capitalistic society, they would have to have reading, arithmetic, and reading, writing, and arithmetic.
And she was Caucasian.
She was white, yes. And she ended up being the first female publisher in the United States. At that time, there at Quindaro, she had a Chindawan. She would sit there during the day. There were like a variety. I would say there's 5 to 7 Kansas Constitutional Conventions. I'm going to say that. And then somebody's going to say, oh, it was just 6. So there were a variety of Kansas Constitutional Conventions.
Several.
Yeah. And she would sit there because a woman was highly oppressed and suppressed in that time. So she would sit there and be pretending to spin and knit because they had their place. And then she was taking detailed notes, and then she would go back to Town Square or to the Quindaro site, I'm not exactly sure, and telegraph back out to the East Coast the dirty, rotten things that were being done at the Kansas Constitutional Convention. All these people from Missouri and other places were coming in trying to outweigh how the state would be entering into the country as a pro-slavery or pro-freedom. And then she would always be like, send money. So she was an iconic person. She ended up not only doing that, but she thought that it was inexcusable for women to not be able to own property in their own name. And so Kansas was one of the first states in the country to allow women to own property in their own name. Wow. And when she went to California, she did the same thing. There's a museum there of I have never been to, but I've talked to people that have. And there are people that have done dissertations and master theses and other types of literary work on her. So I always like to try to explain to people now in this day and age, the child doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to read or write in some cases, and our people went through everything to try to get to that point, and the only person that can make that light come on is themselves, because whether or not mother, father, or foster care or juvenile custody, they still have the ability to figure out a way to carve their own destiny without casting blame and guilt on somebody else. Right. So that sounds kind of really stupid, but everybody's not in a. I was at a meeting last night, and the man said, Gwinnett County is going to suffer until every house has a husband and wife in it. And I'm like, what year and century? they've poured so much money to keep people divided, and so don't go through the entire population control and then turn around and announce father and mother, auntie knows best after you have created all kind of penalties and barriers and so forth. But anyway, and this is and I don't want to sidetrack on him. So there are so many. Okay, what I was trying to say when I first came up here to start trying to do information, because when we were kids, we went to everybody in our family. We had to go to a thing called Friends of Yates. Are you familiar with Friends of Yates?
I live around the corner from there.
Okay, but it's not the same.
The old church, where the church is now. Okay.
Well, it's not the same now. It's like a shelter for the battered women. Oh. But then it was a community service operation, and they won 6 in Quindaro. Okay. And they had a summer camp, and every year we would go to the same places. It would just drive me crazy. I couldn't wait to go to the 7th grade, the summer of the 7th grade, because then you didn't have to go no more. But they would.
This is a requirement for every child.
Different families. You had to pay. It was, back then it was hardly nothing. You had to bring your own brown bag lunch, and they taught you did woodwork, the same shoe shop, the same little lamp. And then you had to take manners class, and then every year we had to go to the Truman Library.
So there were trades and exposure, social life skills.
And then we had to do we had a big festival. Everybody had to cook food, barbecue food, marshmallows or s'mores, and but they would to make us go to the Eisenhower Library too in Abilene, Kansas. Okay. And that was like an all-day kind of field trip. But then they always slide us to a place called Nicodemus. Awesome. And so we would be over sitting at Nicodemus, and we would go to Truman's place, and then different times doing that same. We go to the same places over and over. George Washington Carver's place was just a shack in a hill with a bunch of brush and trees. And the older,
is that in Missouri?
Yeah, in Diamond Grove, Missouri. And there's like, even though it looks like this now, one of these days when the people wake up, they'll realize what George Washington Carver did for our nation and the world. And this place is going to be fixed. But it was this little shack that was tilted over sideways, something like out the Wizard of Oz. And we would have to walk every year down all these brush and mosquitoes. And they would also take us to the Quindaro site and show us the John Brown statue and how people would shoot John Brown every year, even though it was just a memorial. That he was like target practice for the people that didn't like our race of people, but they still would make us go. You could see bullet casings on the ground and everything around the statue, but the memorial. But they thought that it was really important for us to get the same, So we had these socialization skills that they taught, and also the cultural heritage tourism. And when I talked to one of the people now, I think she's probably gone now because this is maybe about 8 years ago. They were there. Friends of Yates took busloads of young ladies and women to the United Negro Council of Women's opening and met Mary McLeod Bethune and so they were on that that kind of high end. But Friends of Yates was born out of the fact that black people, some people like to say all the time African American, but they didn't want black people to join the YMCA and they didn't want black people to join the YWCA. So they had to set up their own units. And the students, when they were really young,
this is what, the 70s, 70s?
Well, it carried on from the 20s.
Well, what did the year that you were asked? So the inception of it was back in the 20s.
Well, because back in the 20s, they had a thing called the JCs because they wouldn't let the little kids be Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or Brownies. They had to open up their own, they had to come up with their own institutional. But what Ms. Jackson told me, she said the reason what they said what they were doing was character building. Right. Their focus was they didn't care about what the courtroom said and what the newspaper. They wanted to make sure that our race of people got the message of we come from a really solid, thorough
ancestry.
Yeah, and so anything else was just ridiculous. Right, so they had their own syllabus, their own protocol.
I want you to elaborate on something, and it's going to go back a little bit, but it ties into that. Kansas, and you mentioned earlier, Kansas was going to determine the destiny of the country. I want you to define that as relates to the destiny of black people, given what you just said, and how Kansas was a redefining state for African people, who came out of chattel slavery, enslavement.
The best I can come up with is that if the country had went with if Kansas had been allowed to enter the Union or become a state as a pro-Confederate, we would have ended up for many years sort of like a South Africa. But we kind of like that anyway.
Right.
But it wouldn't have been as glaring. But what I was trying to say, my brain sometimes drops with memory and recall, and I don't mean for it to, but it just does. When I first started coming up here to life, because I thought Underground Railroad had to do nothing with all black people, I thought, that's right, Quindaro was a Native American. I couldn't remember what tribe, I could care less. At that particular time, I just was desperate to get information. And so the lady in they used to have the Kansas one in the back, she said, well, I said, you keep bringing me all these books about all the white people and some of these Native American and the Wyandotte, whoever they are, and I'm saying about black people. She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm talking about Quindaro, it's Underground Railroad. I don't care if it was just a tree. I want to know about the black presence. I want to know about the black shadow of the DNA of our race. And so she's like, well, the Underground Railroad in Quindaro really didn't have anything to do with just being black. It had to do, the Civil War was about states' rights. I said, states' rights? Right. I said, I want to go to the stack of stuff. Because she was bringing me all these books, and I was just like, my God. And everything was, so I had to go through that material, and then get in the car and go to Topeka and photocopy and measure out, because there was no such thing as Google. If there was a such thing as Google, then I didn't know nothing about it.
Right.
And then I had to talk to a lot of I asked the one lady that was in charge of public affairs here, the guy, Ernest Gayton Sr., used to do the tours for Friends of Yates every summer. He used to teach auto mechanics at Sumner High School, but he also was a airplane pilot and mechanic to to the Tuskegee Airmen. And I didn't even know, he was the first black to own his own speedway racetrack in Topeka, because black people had to have their own. They wouldn't let the black drivers in the regular, so they had their own circuit. They would travel all over, and he was one of those people. And I had to ask, because I didn't know where. I had been so many different places. I was just like, "Is there any way you can find?" And she said, "I have to call his house and talk to his wife, because he's not been feeling well lately, and see if I can get permission to give you their number, or you give me their number for them to call." So I said, okay. So she said, well, let me check and see, and give me about a week. So, less than a week, she said, they said you can call. So I called, and they had me come right over, he and his second wife. And
was this in Topeka?
No, he lived over here in Kansas City, Missouri. His first wife had died. He had 4 or 5 children with her, and
he moved up here.
He moved. He was from Kansas City.
Okay.
An incredible lineage. Wow. His grandfather, Carvine Patterson, was a Oberlin College graduate, and joined the Union Army out of Quindaro. They were the first to serve, the first to die in the American Civil War. Wow. And he ended up being the office holder for Freedmen's University, Freedmen Quindaro University. These men pulled. I have a tooth problem. They put their money together during the Civil War, and they set up a school because they were convinced that they were going to win the American Civil War. And he became the first constable, the first sheriff inside Wyandotte County. He was mixed race, Carvine Patterson, and his grandchildren and descendants have gone on to do incredibly great things. But Mr. Ernest Gaten Sr. used to come go with me to the meetings at City Hall and to Topeka. We only have an hour on the interview, but one time I lost him. I told him, I said, wait right here. He was like 88, 89 years old. I said, wait right here. I have to go get the car, and I'll come back around the circle to get you. And he wasn't there. I had to go park the car again and walk around and talk to security and everything. And I was where you going? So I came on back to Kansas City like 3 hours later, and I called his wife and said, I have lost Mr. Gaten. And I left numbers with the director of security at the Capitol and called up to the police department. I don't know where he. She said, well, where is he? I said, I don't know. I said, I looked for him for almost 3 hours, and it took an hour to get back here, and I wanted to give you the bad news first. She said, hold on. She said, Ernest, he was coming in the door. He said, oh, me and some of the people from the hearing, we stopped and had lunch. It was taking Marvin too long to get there. But because on another occasion, he had caught the bus to come over here to Kansas and got lost. He stayed right over there at Plaza Point, off of Plaza, and across from the Raphael. Wow. And he got lost on the bus, so he didn't get to make it to the hearing. And but he would come to the meetings and tell me, go ahead and say exactly what you're saying. Don't hit so hard beneath the gut. Do uppercuts. Right. Work your mind a little bit harder to say it. Say the same thing, but make it nicer. More because in the end, we're going to defeat this dump, but we want to make sure that you're not just talking to these people right now. You're working for the record and the future of all our race. Will be looking back on how important this battle is. So work your research up. So I was like, okay. But we would stop at St. Luke's because he volunteered at St. Luke's to help with his insurance. If he volunteered, they deducted down his medical care. Okay. Isn't that something?
That is powerful.
So yeah, I mean, been through the gamut with, I used to sometimes, even though he was long dead and gone, I would call that number just for to say it was disconnected. I was like, they are kicking our ass. Right. Y'all told me, they used to tell me that his family invited me to come see him as he was in transition. I was like, I'm not going to go see somebody in transition. Okay. And someone was like, no, that's a huge honor. So I went over to see him, and he said he was tired, he was going to take it easy. And that was in 1991. December the 5th, we stopped a $53 million counterclaim lawsuit in the federal court in Denver, the Court of Appeals. And the 17th or 19th of December, he died. And I told his wife, they had told me that he was that sick, I wouldn't have been making him come go to Topeka and come to City Hall. Right. We even had pictures of him on the front page of the Kansas City Star marching. Quindaro saved the water. I had no idea he was sick. I knew he was up in age. And, I didn't
right,
realize
right.
all these people would be gone.
Yeah. Yes.
A whole cadre of people that I used to consider like brain trust. I could get one or the other on the phone and tell them this is what's going on, and then they would give me their recommendation and what to do, and I'd be taking notes and I'll, go in and implement as best I could as close to what they were saying. And his biggest regret was that they were just so busy raising their families and trying to be successful to sustain. And even in that, he was with a group of teachers in Topeka, and they were arguing about the books were crummy and cruddy and dusty, and they threw him out of Topeka, and they dared him to ever come back to Topeka. Really? The lineage, the higher upper crust, and he was like, we were on our way on the highway to go to the first hearing because we did a series of hearings. We have so many hearings. I don't know how many hearings.
Federal. These were federal.
These were state hearings. We had plenty. We had plenty federal too. But this was in Topeka, and I looked up there, and he was like, kind of like teared up, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Are you sure you're okay?" So he was like, "Okay." So I was like, "I gotta keep my eye on the road." He said, "The thing is they told me I better never show up in Topeka, and I'm going to Topeka."
Just full of fire.
He said, most of them are gone now, and he had this big old, old-fashioned briefcase and everything on his knees. He said they told me to never come to Topeka, and I'm going back to Topeka in a few minutes. We will talk about Quindaro.
That's powerful. So on that note,
I'm sorry.
This is wonderful information, man. What was the city? Was it the city that was going to build the dump?
Yeah, the city and the AME church.
And then, why was it significant to stop that particular effort? And how did that happen? So what was the city attempting to do with the Quindaro historical area? Why was it significant to get involved in the effort to stop that? And then how did that unfold?
Wow. Okay.
I'm trying to consolidate a lot of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We used to have meetings every week.
Okay.
The Citizen Clearinghouse for Hazardous Waste, we didn't put it in the call paper, but we were having war council because they had the engineers, the lawyers, and big bucks and budget accounts, and they could Visa, MasterCard, anything they wanted. So we had to meet and exchange the most recent information we were getting from wherever we could get it, and we were doing Milgrams because I don't know what bracket you came through, but Milgrams was the highest level of communication you could do then that, in that particular time.
Instagram. Milgrams, and not Instagram.
No, Milgrams. They were $25 a pop to send a Milgram to Western Union. And so we would have people do Milgrams to the different cabinet levels, federal levels, and also to the different Congress people. And then we would have the city council had a public agenda where I would get on the agenda every 2 weeks. And then we'd have our meetings on those off 2 weeks on every Thursday. I never got to see Living Single or the Cosby Show and whatever else came on for years in reruns, because those were our days to meet. It was
Priority.
Priority. Yeah. Then we went first to Topeka in the federal level, and then after we did that, they told us you need to go deal with City Hall. Then we would meet with City Hall in terms of all kind of slams and insults. And the Lord blessed us with the National Wildlife Federation, the late Dr. Gerald Lee. He was a big officer and member, and he was a cardiologist, and he requested the regional or the district office. John Ashcroft was the governor of the state of Missouri. At that time. Yeah, and we got a letter from him to stop the dump.
Really?
And later became the Attorney General.
That's what I'm saying. And it would
seem
like he would be opposed to that.
My politics are issue. I don't give a damn what political party.
Right.
You find an area we can agree? And so then, because the National Wildlife Federation agreed with Dr. Lee and John Ashcroft, the former governor of the state of Missouri and former Congressman Alan Wheat, and our Congresswoman at the time, Jan Myers, who was a Republican over in Wyandotte County, they retained the services. I think it was like $17,000 to $27,000. They hired a consultant to come in to do a study, and he came and did his study and said it was to lease the land that the city was in charge of responsibility for. History, throw it out the window, was like giving $20 for a Rolls Royce to the landfill company, and in the end, they would cost billions $3 billion for pollution because they would suddenly be poisoning their own people while they were getting $5,000 a month from the landfill company for the lease agreement. So I think that guy's name was Hugh Kaufman.
Right. So this was a study that was conducted to demonstrate that this would be the result of this.
All they had the helicopters, for the big meeting. And we would pack the city hall meeting standing room only. You could only get to.
So those are some pretty intense sessions, almost.
Oh my God, yeah. And then they had an article that came up. It was something in the Kansas City Star about the blue baby syndrome. I had never heard about the blue baby syndrome, but I have 3 sisters and I have a fleet of cousins. So they, everybody moved out and they left their white dowels upstairs in the attic. So I said, okay. So I read about the blue baby. So then I asked the EPA to give me some more information about the blue baby syndrome. Then I called the people at the Citizens Clearinghouse for what is the blue baby syndrome when the oxygen, something doesn't go all the way through and the babies turn blue and sometimes they die. So I went up in the attic and I went to whatever the art store was in Westport and got some blue spray paint. Took my sister and cousins and the white dowels upstairs in there and sprayed them blue and then put little outfits on them and then took them to the city council for me. And put them in the plastic bag. They didn't know what I was bringing because then, they didn't, you have to go to security. So I had a mommy don't. Why did y'all turn me blue with a little coat anchor thing? And I said I'm on the front row by the engineers and the lawyers from the landfill company. And they were fuming. And the TV people was like, you need to take that down. That's a disgrace. I was like, well, they have on diapers. They got on. Right. What do you mean? The babies are blue, and I passed out literature about the blue baby syndrome. They're gonna turn
this
black.
This would be the effect of this here.
Yeah, they're gonna make the white babies turn blue in the rural America, and our people won't turn blue. We'll just be dead.
Right. Let's deal with that. That's to the heart.
Yeah, it was powerful, and they wanted to.
That's artistic, even, man. That was a very artistic.
It was
one political artistic move, man.
And then when I got back home, I was, of course, left the dowels in the trash bag so they could go out to the trash people the next week because I didn't want, but I needed to try to
provide a visual.
Yeah. And so they were fuming. They turned red as your little water bottle canister over there. They were fuming.
That's a
huge
statement.
So you have to I went to a thing with Gwendolyn Brooks. I think it was $75. Gwendolyn Brooks, the Pulitzer Prize poet. Right. And she said, if you have any intention in communicating in the black literary arts, you have to make words dance and waltz and boogie woogie. You cannot take and turn around and see Jane Flip caught the ball. The fence is painted white. She said, you're going nowhere. You have to make those words off of the sheet of paper. So I try to do that in unique little formats. Very
powerful.
It was one of my finest moments. But it was also scary. They see me driving down the street and with these white dowels and the trunk painted blue. Right. But I sat them right by Channel 19, the BFI people, and they were all my little supporters. They had drove over and stuff like that, and they was just like, oh my God. It was like that's.
So were you all receiving threats during this period?
Oh yeah, people told me don't. They told me, well, it's like they were gonna kill me. The people behind the landfill were the mafia, and so when they told me that, and they were starting to scare my mother that they were gonna not, take me out, and so there was the underworld that was really behind the landfill, and I need to do my research,
which is a reality.
I couldn't care less.
No, not that you should, but I'm just asking. Is there?
I can't clarify that because the companies still. I mean, they're out of existence now, but they still have money, and so I, for the purposes of it, what I did though was I took and sent a packet to the Pope, since most of them are of one denomination, and they love the Pope and they do the holy water and all that. I respect all religions for the people that identify with them. So I sent a packet to the Pope and asked him to bless the site by coming, since he was going to Colorado, come and throw some holy water. And these people were being so mean and unfair and low down with our heritage and history. And they were the only country in the world that were willing to do a John Brown Memorial in Cabrera, or how you say Cagliari, Italy, where they made the Michelangelo stonework. If you can't come, could you at least say some kind words to your parishioners and the people that love what you all do? And
wow.
So
what was the
Pope the Vatican office ambassador from Washington D.C. wrote back, and I put the letter in the call paper that the Pope's not coming. But he sent the letter saying the Pope was putting the Quindaro battle on his holy table for prayer. And so
this was a statement that was given.
Yeah. I can't find the letter. But
No. But
there was
still,
the articles there. Yeah. So, you have to deal right with the. You
can deal with it how you deal with it. That's real.
So
that's powerful.
So and then I didn't hear too many of those kinds of things anymore. But the mean spiritedness, like this one lady, she's from a prominent lawyer's family. I had ran into her or something, and she told me, she said, I couldn't say it then, but this town, both sides, have so badly tried to destroy you because of the money that was lined up. Everybody was going to go to the bank and be very, very comfortable for the rest of our lives, and you interfered with that. And they have held that against you. Because I applied for AmeriCorps for the second time and to knock out my student loan, and they told me that I should take a sabbatical from the Quindaro site for 12 months. I said, if I do this in the evening on the weekend, what difference does it make? So she was like, well, we need you to take a sabbatical. I said, well, I've been coming over to all your group interviews, and I'm taking off hours from this temporary assignment. And so now you can tell me something like this. And so I would just say this, I paid money, that's linen, resume. So could you pass my resume back? Because I don't no longer want to work with y'all. So she kept asking me in the interview, she said, would you be afraid or uncomfortable passing out literature on 5th Street and Gateway and down in Juniper Gardens and on 10th Street? I said, well, are you looking at my resume? She said, well, yeah, I'm looking at it. So you see the address. She said, what difference does that make? I said, you're asking me would I be afraid to be in my own community?
Right.
And so I said, you know what, this interview is over because I'm no longer interested in having you all be a part of my employment arena because this is just over, this is. And so then when I'm getting ready to leave, here comes the guy from Pizza Hut, and this is right here at 4th and Minnesota Avenue at the United Way office. And I open up the door, and he's coming in bringing Pizza Hut, and they're sitting in the room getting ready to have big pizza. I said, this is what I'm talking about. You said, would I be unwilling and uncomfortable going in my neighborhood to pass out flyers, and y'all get Pizza Hut delivered up here, but they won't go down there in the same area that you just got through berating me and asking me to take 12 months. So those kinds of things. Right. That's a sidetrack. But
that's real though.
The site is so powerful. The older people were told by their grandparents and parents before them it was holy ground, that the blood that was stained in the soil for the advent of our freedom. If there were time to talk about Colonel Charles Jennison and the Redlegs and the Corday Q Africa, who the people styled clothing was from Algeria and France before they even became the 1st Kansas Colored Union Army Regiment. These people were before John Brown was executed. He did aim, ready, fire, target practice with these fugitives there at Quindaro. So this was prior to, they were the first to serve and the first to die in the American Civil War. And if people get the chance to order the Battle of Island Mound, Fort Africa video documentary from the Missouri State Parks, who won 2 Emmy Awards in November 2015. And they...
what's the name of the one?
It's called the Battle of Island Mound, Fort Africa in Butler, Missouri, Bates County. When they conquered the Toothman Farm at that battle, they said they fought like tigers. They hung up in trees and swung and everything with their swords and rifles. They renamed this space in Butler, Missouri, Bates County, Fort Africa. That's how bold they were. So just outside Kansas City, connected directly to Quindaro, these people had the nerve to rename the white people's space to Fort Africa, and it's emblazoned in the bronze marker
to this day.
Well, they just dedicated 2011, 2012 for the 150th anniversary, and I was blessed and fortunate to be able to go there they let us have a full carte blanche exhibit, and Marla Jackson had done a Smithsonian Master quilt on the 1st Kansas Color, which is. And, we took it there, and people were, photographing, and they were really afraid to use the photographs because they didn't know if it had been copywritten or not. But it was just a phenomenal thing that, these 5, I don't even have it in front of me. The Quindaro site in 2016 was elevated. There's a 100th anniversary of the centennial of the National Park Service. Quindaro is listed as one of the most important sacred spaces, park areas in the United States for the African American experience. And then each of the battles, the Battle of Island Mound, Fort Scott, Hamden. It's like 5 different. Every battle that the First Kansas Colored that were recruited, quartered, mustered, camped at Quindaro. Wow. They're listed inside that same thing underneath their individual states: Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and then Kansas itself, and Quindaro. And so, to me, like people say, whatever they want to say, the persistence of, I was there when they had we were asked to support the National Underground Network study, so that we, and I did an article that the Underground Railroad is as important and significant as the Mayflower was to the Pilgrims.
True, very true.
And that was like in 1990, 91.
Wow.
And I really didn't, it was my friend Marie Ross, who used to be the Kansas editor for the Kansas City The Call paper. I would be like 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon bringing her in notes, hand out handwritten letters, and she would type them all up. But she only promised me that if I could, she didn't know if I could write that well, but if I did, she would see about getting some of the work in. And so she did all the way till her health started to turn in about 92. And after that, I would have to type my own stuff in, and I would have to bring it on Tuesdays. But before that, I was kind of like spoiled. All I had to do was like to the minute, get everything written down. And I'd be on the phone, and people would give me information that the different agencies, the federal, state, and local government, they would give me what I needed to know, because I would always say, like, tell me what I need to know, but just because I'm too ignorant to ask, I don't know. I don't have no big-time education. We don't have no big old budget. Tell me what I need to ask, because everybody kept saying, it's not in our jurisdictional purview, but based on Code of Federal Regulations, so you have even Elizabeth Dole and Bob Dole's, Elizabeth Dole was our Secretary of Transportation, and they'd already approved the dump at Quindaro. She was appointed by President Reagan at the time, and then Senator Dole was, way up the chain in leadership across the country, a global figure.
Right, Dole, yeah.
His staff, they were right across the street, they were very helpful. We would march on the EPA and then come down to Dole's office and triangle over here to the city.
Right there on
that's a new place.
Oh.
They're gone now. They're not even there. But they used to be right up there in the 600 block of Minnesota, and we'd walk down here to Dole and go back and forth on every Friday. And then on the next week, we would go up here to the courthouse and City Hall, and the federal courthouse. They used to do the federal court. And then we do the City Hall building and the health department. Wow. So, we meet every Friday. And march. Yeah, we'd march on them every Friday. And then sometimes we'd go down to.
So what were the numbers like?
The numbers that were people would march?
Yeah.
Oh, there would have been many, but I would say 15, maybe 30 people.
Right.
But
when the time was needed for people to organize, mobilize, they were there.
Well, one of my biggest protests that I was a part of, we had over 200 people at 9th and Quindaro, at 8th and Quindaro, because it was a Superfund toxic waste site where the guy had opened up pits in the ground and was dumping his bavarium. Anyway, he was dumping all these. He was repairing tanks for Israel and Brazil and other places in Europe, and the cleaner, it was called a common criminal. He was just dumping into the sewer, and these people, because I don't know that sewer, they're odors, and then he took and punched holes into the floor and would dump them, the craters of the material into the ground. Yeah, and
with
so
no containers, anything, just straight raw.
No, and so we, I had me a sign done up that had KKK with an arrow, and so we had, and some people just like, where's the? I was like, they're right there. So everybody's they go, and then they even sent in the people with those acronyms. No one likes you to say the people from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They came to the and said, you can cause a riot. I said, no, I'm not trying to cause a riot. I said, but he said, you need to put the sign down. I said, no, I'll put the sign up. You need to go over there and tell them that they can't just come in here and let this guy continue to poison our people. We got 27 women dead of cervical ovarian cancer. And I don't know, and so the Kansas Cancer Registry, here's the report. So don't come and tell me about what I can cause. You need to go over there and do your job and earn your keep. That's what you need to go do. So then they was like, okay, everybody break it up. And I had no idea, because it was an unplanned. It was an unplanned, but we had done so well and other stuff. So the people, they stood right there till they made.
So what year did that take place?
I want to say it was in 92. No, about 91.
So this was
91, 90. No, 8th and Quindaro.
8th and Quindaro.
Yeah, it's a vacant lot now.
But he was building tanks in a
No, he was repairing them. He was repairing the arsenal, the military equipment, and he was cleaning them and stripping them down and, restoring the parts and sending them back.
He was a federal contractor.
I don't know what he was, but, different people say he's a good old guy, and, then people got really mad at me. There's like, here's a Negro with no education, and he's up here causing all this happening. These are my own people, black people. That were,
but y'all dying, and
I'm like,
coming
we got 27 women dead of ovarian and cervical cancer.
And what was the window of time that the 27 died?
I want to say in about a 4-year period. Because, we was having our little meetings and people said, well, so-and-so's dead and she was other. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Because people kept trying to get me, drive me into that particular issue. I said, no, I'm only going to deal with out there. So the people down in that corridor would come in March, and the people out there would be like, I'm not coming down there in March. So... And then the people down here was like, well, where are they? And I was like, don't worry about them. You just keep doing what you're doing so we can get that building taken care of. And then we'll worry about that other later because I don't have a blueprint. I have to work with what I have. But, the irony of it is so many of them were gone and a few remember, but I would have never thought it would have taken this much because I thought of who I was and, with some college education, my honorable discharge, that I just have to do 2 or 3 public relations events, and we would have stopped the dump at Quindaro, especially when they declared that it was a Pompeii of Kansas. And I was like, what's the Pompeii? Because out of Church of God in Christ, of which I'm at, Pompeii is the olive oil. You go in the line and you get your, they put it on your forehead for you to,
They say Quindaro's that to Kansas.
Right, but they said that Pompeii is like the ancient volcanic city in Italy that was covered over in volcanic ash, and this was covered over with mud. And so they
toxic
said,
mud.
No, at the Quindaro site there was no.
Okay.
This was at 8th and Quindaro in a residential area that was right up the street from a preschool. Okay. One of the most prominent preschools, early education centers in the area. No, the Quindaro site. That's one of the things that the people from the Interior Department like about the site so much because it has not been risk with commercial contemporary development and
that's crucial.
And when they said that it was the Pompeii of Kansas, but don't tell me. So I got on the phone and I called all the TV people and the helicopters and everybody came that day. And that's when the people from the landfill company was fuming because, you can see the structures, the whole layout of a city, the foundations, the windows, the walls, the doors, the footings for the steps.
So this was before all the growth is...
You're right. And 1987, July the 16th, we made the front page of the Kansas City Star, the 17th of July, and all over the television news with the Pompeii. And then the New York Times had one of the reporters here in Kansas City who showed up. I remember the date, August the 20th, 1987, because we were in the New York Times with Pompeii of Kansas yields clues to freedom. And then the LA Times came, Chicago Tribune, Wichita Eagle Beacon did a front page feature, and then we got an editorial endorsement from them every year that we were fighting the dump from the Wichita Eagle Beacon. And I had a crisis occur not too long ago, privately, personal, and so I was really, really afraid for the body of work, the materials. So they were given to an institution. Not given, but loaned to an institution, of the news recordings on VHS tape and audio interviews and the design panels and the students at the Boys and Girls Club in Topeka and Lawrence are digitizing them.
Wow.
So, I was like, all of our work and all these people who helped us. Because I remember Ms. Ross, she had told me as her health started to turn and everything, and Mr. Gayton had told me the same thing. Gladys Berkson told me the same thing, and and the list goes. They told me without being in the same room, in the same conversation, even when I'm not here, my spirit will be right there. I just believe from here, this form, and be a guardian angel for the work you're trying to do. Because it's so important to our people.
Undeniable.
And I was like, are you going to pull from the other side?
Right. That's all good, but
Are you going to,
right.
They said, you got it. So, that kind of gives me confidence, even in spite of a lot of the foolishness. And then when I was talking with the people today, and I'm trying to measure, I don't want people to come in and just let the stuff sit there and collect dust or accidentally put it in the trash for the janitor. Because I had given a stack of stuff to the Kansas State Historic Society early on of the protest signs and articles that I was pulling, and and I was just like, well, I need this stuff back.
Right.
No.
Don't even worry about that. Don't even stress.
I said, where's the stuff that I gave y'all on Quindaro? Because I need to go through it. So because some of that stuff I didn't mean to give you. I needed to look at some of it. So nobody didn't know where it was. All the professional people, and there were all white people that worked there at the Kansas State Historic Center, and nobody didn't know where the stuff was. It was in a different address than what they are now. So I was like, I can't believe y'all don't know where the stuff is. I said, this is unbelievable. Now I gave y'all this stuff so that people would be able to appreciate it. I said, I spent all kind of money, $1 per page at the card catalog, and now don't nobody know, even though it come from y'all's building, where's our stuff? And so then the lady said, I was leaving, and she had on her little gray outfit, and the black guy, they were the only two black people, lady janitor and the male black janitor. They said, they got yourself down there by the dumpster. In the basement of the
Shut the front door.
I said, really said, yeah, they told us to throw it away, but we knew we'd see you again. We were supposed to throw it away almost 2 months ago. I said, they said, we got it. I said, where? They said, shh, go around to the side back door and we'll meet you down there to come get your stuff. But don't make no show and come back up here because we get in trouble. We were supposed to throw that. I was like,
oh my goodness. Dude, this is like a movie. This is a movie, man.
So yeah, it's
that's crazy, Mark.
It was just the posters. I have 43 cubic square feet of material at UMKC, and they gave me back 10 cubic square feet. So I have 33 cubic square feet of material from my original notes. Believing my Navy background. You had to take like I said, we were on war council taking notes.
So what school is this in?
It's at UMKC, Western Historic Manuscript Collection.
In the library.
Right, but it was shipped from there to the University of Missouri at Columbia. So now it's in the Missouri State Historic Society in Columbia.
They curate it now.
Yeah.
So it's actually a display.
No, it's not a display. It's just a record. I have an inventory, and you're supposed to have permission from the school to go in and look at it. And then they're supposed to contact me that so-and-so is asking to inquire to look at the materials. But we haven't had anybody that, because in there I have tons of photos, because, the kind of work that I had done, people have said we're going to the information age. And I didn't know what that meant, So it's like when I would charge people when they would want to come do a tour, and then we would have an event, I would make them take plenty of pictures and then send a set back to me. So I could, because so we, people that came took tours from all over the country and all overseas. Those pictures are there with the state because I was just like I didn't want our effort to go on. Let's see, what's the word? Anyway, Mr. Ernest Gayton Sr. He said that the site didn't mean nothing to people now, but in the future when the population got ready to try to figure out how did America get to be this great, great space on the planet, then the American people would want to know, how did we get there? And that's when the question and the light's going to go off in their thinking, and they need to be reminded of what our people have went through to try to provide a roof, a wall, and accommodations for their family and children. And they should never be allowed to not remember that it was never like just a red carpet.
So is there a website in production? Is there anything that you all are doing to make this information accessible?
We're talking about 33 cubic square feet of material just at the Kansas State. Just at the University of Missouri at Columbia. I have the 20 years after that of material that I'm just now starting to disperse out.
So how is this besides that? Are there ways that you are preserving and making this information accessible? Because this conversation to me is like I'm so.
You ready to shut off? You ready to shut
down?
No,
I'm just like, this is overwhelming.
It should have never.
I had no clue the depths of this. You see what I'm saying? I'm just like, I'm touched. I'm emotionally touched in ways like this is incredible. This is a story that is almost unheralded. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear a lot to the degree that you've shared information. For me, this is me speaking. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that our history was. I know there's our histories here, but to the degree which you just expressed it. I mean, and to know that there have been forces who have attempted to literally cover it. You see what I'm saying? That it hurts, but at the same time, it's a joy to know individuals such as yourself have labored to preserve this, man. I mean, this is monumental. I mean, there's no words that can really express my gratitude for what you've done to preserve this, and just going on our tour this past weekend. But it's just like, how is this information accessible to other people? Our story this story needs to be completely
okay. Now, like for example, we were blessed. You know, that what you're saying brings a really crazy, genuinely problem to the surface, because after you go through all that, and you have all this bottleneck without the information being able to go to the next link. Now, when you and Casey did the play, Quindaro, it sold out virtually every night, and I was fortunate and blessed enough to be able to meet it sold out every night. That went on to win the John F. Kennedy Center Performing Arts Award in Washington, D.C. as the Dramaturg of the Year. They compared it to a Shakespearean great.
Who's the playwright?
Kathleen McGee Anderson, the same woman who is the facilitator and founder of the Zora Neale Hurston African Summer Scholars Program. She's out of Detroit by way of Philadelphia, Penn State, and Spelman, and she lives in L.A. She's done Soul Food HBO series. And the guy who recruited her, Ricardo Khan, he won a Tony Award for the Tuskegee Airmen off-Broadway play. So it sold out every night, and when they were doing the play, we were right at the play. We was up to 15 and 55 million pages on Google, and I didn't even know I should have took a picture. I didn't even know I should have took 15 to 55 million sites on Quindaro in the Google search engine. But it went on to win the John F. Kennedy Center Performing Arts. They even sold tickets 3 and 4 times over because it was university theater. And people the weather people said, it's going to be an ice blizzard, it's going to be an ice blizzard. And one of the biggest, I mean, it was a phenomenon. It allowed me to go, because, you know, when I met with them, I was like, all the research says that the Quindaro died, the site died because men went to go join the Union Army. Mm-hmm. And they were like, okay, what does that mean to you? I said, well, I'm a vet. I want to know, who were these people that went to go join the Army? And what did they do? Okay, so we don't want to regurgitate the same information that's been in the media. We want to dig deep. So I was like, okay, so that allowed me to do more extensive hunting from 2006 to 2007. And then when I saw the play, I was just like, you know.
Was it spot on?
Oh, it was, in that place, black, white, and black female with white male and American Indian could vote. And they presented that in the play. We were able to find
this is history.
Yeah, and one of the historical societies that these people were before their time. They were ahead of their time. So anyway, they called it a Shakespearean. They said it won the Dramaturg of the Year from the John F. Kennedy Center Performing Arts, and they considered it a Shakespearean great because of all the drama that Kathleen McGee Anderson and Ricardo Khan and the actors. And there's one guy. I talked to the students and everything. Bill Cobb, I think, who's in New Jack City. He was the feature. You know, he kind of like did the role of my consultant, Mr. Ernest Gayton Sr., sort of like the moderator for the different events in time. And he even showed when the children.
So you're a subject of the play?
No. Okay. The body of my work is. And they even showed the children when they sunk and drowned in the play. And
oh my goodness.
This when you said that you made me forget. Anyway, to have, so I forgot what I was getting ready to say. But anyway, the little boy. That's one story. I was at another event somewhere in Missouri, big Kansas City, Missouri, and the lady came up to me and she spoke to me and she was I was like, no, I don't remember. She said, my son was in the play at Quindaro, with Quindaro at Union Station. I said, oh, okay. I said, I can't remember his name, but I do remember meeting y'all. It was also the 2008.
Right.
She said, he works for Disney.
Yeah.
Right there. So I said, that is phenomenal. Because I told him, I said, you do this, you'll be able to write your ticket anywhere. This is awesome. But the student, they were from all over the country, and tall. They were border ruffians, Confederate,
right,
and in the play. So I was like, "What is this like for you all to do this?" They said, "It don't mean nothing. It's just another project."
Wow.
I said, "Don't mean nothing."
Wow. Right.
So it's like, no, these are like New Yorkers and the New Jersey attitude,
right.
Philly, white, and so I was like, okay. I said, well, no, I wanted to ask because it's like it means everything to me and the people before us.
Yeah.
So then, I had some money because I had been in the situation, and so I called a friend of mine who had a car to a place called Costco. My sister and them out in LA, every time you go there, they go to Costco's. They know I love all the snacks. Right. So I was like, I remember they have all the big flowers out in LA. So I went over and I got 200 roses, red and yellow, and about 50 sunflowers. So there was some people there that I knew that, it was the closing of the play. So at the end of the play, we started throwing roses and sunflowers at them. And these same people that said that, these same people said the play didn't mean nothing to them, they just broke down and cried.
Wow.
But like within a year, I was doing just a Google search engine. I saw where the John F. Kennedy Center in D.C. Compared it to a Shakespearean grade and gave it the Dramaturg of the Year. It's been people say, well, and the theater department, they gave me a $500 donation for photocopy reimbursement and postage. But what they could never give me was priceless to have been able to be in the room and meet with Kathleen McGee Anderson, someone who has the nerve to do a Zora Neale Hurston African Summer Scholars Program.
Right.
And with her background, and then I met her mother, and they came up to the site, and they were at the cemetery, same cemetery we were at, and they sat there and they prayed and meditated, and then they started rolling in the ground like those students did, and they were saying things, and they were feeling the synergy and the spirit of the site. And then when they came and did that play, I just couldn't.
So this was before they did the play. They experienced it before the play.
They came to the site while Kathleen McGee Anderson was a contractor to write the play. She brought her mother down from Michigan.
Wow.
Her mother's a Michigan University professor, I believe, English teacher. So her daughter has that skill of excellent communications. And then like Kathleen McGee Anderson, she said, well, what I'm getting for this, I'm doing this because of you. I'm doing this because of Quindaro and the story having not been told, and it was just.
It is out there. That is awesome.
So it's people say, well, like I have people in my family and my small little circles, they just always criticize. Well, you're doing another. What the hell? Well, don't blame me because the people at City Hall and the people in Topeka and the people in Washington D.C. haven't been able to understand the magnitude of what we're trying to do, and then I don't have the best communication skills. I figure if I had a master's and a doctorate degree, maybe I would have been able to say letters, words, and sentences a lot better with more persuasion, because people like you to have that comma behind your name. But it has been, it has been, when I went to the job training thing at Catholic Church, the people over here made me go, and the VA people, I went over there to the job. And I was put down there 30 years with this right here, creative consulting, independent volunteer research, public media relations. They said, well, if you put down 30 years, that means you're dating yourself, and no one's going to want to be bothered with you. I said, well, now on the other hand, the people over in Kansas don't put down that I'm a veteran. What the hell do y'all want me to do? Because, I've been sitting around smoking crack, and I'm afraid to death of crack. Right. So what do you want me to put down there? So I was like, I would think that would be like an advantage, but they said, no, it makes you look really, really, really old, and no one will want to be bothered with you at all for the work that you're doing. I was like, okay, so I just say on everything, like when the Star paper came and did their big feature in February that I've been working on many years, I told her 30 years, because she had remembered the subject. I said, but the people at Catholic Church that don't say, don't give a year, because people will kind of like, if this hasn't got no further in 30 years, then it probably won't be going nowhere. But yeah, it's a lot. The only thing I can regret is that we weren't able to move fast enough so that some of the people that are gone that promised me that they would be the guardian angels, like when we had the dedication of the little platform in 2008, City Hall asked me to participate and help with that, and I turned everything over my spirit to them, and then they took and chopped it up to nothing and diminished it, and then they gave me 2 minutes to speak, and they gave all these church people and with the African clothing on all these long, lengthy minutes about what all they had done, and I just kind of thought, okay. And so I just went to the microphone and said, they only gave me 2 minutes, but I'm going to say this. Even though y'all don't hardly see nobody here, everywhere you see a space, those are all of our guardian angels. And it don't matter about whether hardly nobody's here or not. They only gave me two and a half minutes to speak. And all I can say is that the God that I know, you know. And so I went on and said, you know, got on out the way. They were just rude and foul.
Same spirit.
Yeah, and these were some black people in charge of decision making.
Same spirit.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Now we're at the National Historic Landmark, and everybody. I was asked to be a part of to go ahead and help them with as much as I could, and now people don't really want me to be a part of that. You know, and I'm like, okay, so y'all just came on the scene like a couple of months ago, and maybe a couple of years ago, and then here's all this. We took and got signatures, just like I said, with the Black United Front's tour that they did the other day. In 1987, they had a conference, and I got signatures from the people that showed up, and some of the people came back to my table and said, can I take some of these home? I said, yes, because here's the ones from out of town. So, you know, we ended up, and I have an acquisition feasibility study that cost $25,000 we had 7,000 signatures, and they had to rule out 2,000 of them, and because they were out of town people, and then they had to rule out another 2,000 because they were illegal in terms of they wasn't registered certified voters inside Kansas. But when I first started, they only required 10 signatures to do acquisition feasibility study, and they could be right there in your hometown. But they slid underneath the radar when they knew that I was working on this, and went to the legislature and made them do 1,000 signatures of people from across the state. And so when the Black United Front the National Black United Front was having their conference, it wasn't the only group. There were a variety of other organizations that allowed me to cross-promote the petitions. And then, we got all those, and that's part of the research in the Western Historic Manuscript Collection. We had these 7,000 signatures and had copies, done up at Kinko's, so we threw them in the white people's face and the black people's face. That thought that we wasn't about nothing. Nobody gave a damn.
Wow. And
I was making $25 an hour there promoting seatbelts for the National Traffic Safety Now Foundation. Some of the people in my area that were crackheads, crack dealers, boofers, I would let them have, you go give me some signatures and I'll give you $25 for an hour. So, I know you're not going to get all these done in an hour, so in 2 hours, you can have $25. And I'll charge it on the thing that I was out here promoting seatbelts.
Organize a community, brother.
So they were very helpful, And
wow.
A lot of the,
he called them boofers, though.
Well, it's small.
I know. I'm just saying that it was.
So they were very helpful, and a lot of the ideas and stuff that like I said, we want to use this site as a way to sensitize and improve race, class, and cultural relationships by creating meaningful employment opportunities and our entrepreneurship development. That doesn't come from me. That's not my original. I was asking them, what will it take for y'all to quit running up all these cars from the people from the University of Kansas and the State Historic Society and the news media that don't necessarily have the logo on the car, trying to sell them some crack or rent your girlfriend to them because they're getting to be uncomfortable.
Wow, not rent your girlfriend.
Yeah, you're going to rent their girlfriend. And they was like, well, what's in it for me? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And I said, we're trying to preserve the history of, I can't do that with sending out all these postcards and letters and phone calls. And then y'all running the people away with trying to sell them a bag of crack or get them your girlfriend for a couple of hours or an hour. And they was like, well, what's in it for me? And I was like, well, what do you mean what's in it?
And so you saw the erosion of the community in the process of doing that in your time here, as far as
I mean, so I was like the people from BFI, they were paying the people, the landfill company, they was paying them $7, $9, $12, $15, $20 an hour, regular people. If they had a bachelor's degree, there was $25, $35 an hour. If they had working on their master's, $45, $55, $60 an hour. So I was like, okay, so if these people are telling me in the neighborhood what's in it for me, I need to be able to figure out. I said, we need to create jobs. And then some of them are so good at doing their crack and their other products, they don't need a job. They need to be the entrepreneur, development trained. They just need to be shown how to do this business plan, how to
legitimately,
how to clean their routine up so that at the end of the day they aren't worried about handcuffs, but looking forward to that pay to the order of. So it was like listen to the people that I listened to, like a Bob Law and Coakley. You have to work at the very root of. So a lot of those are not my original concepts. Even the people taking pictures. The person I always want to say his name, but he was murdered. I can't say his name because he's got children by a variety of different mothers. But his thing was make people take a picture of now and then right now and then after. Because, he's looking at the Kansas City Star, the back of the paper, they have like what a house looks like now and then what it looks like afterwards with the new windows and a new roof. So that's his idea. And so I incorporate that idea that, I need y'all to, when you do a tour for you or do a presentation, come take some pictures, mail us back a set so that we have the before, and then in the future we'll have the after.
Man, awesome. Okay, I'm going to have to wrap this up, brother.
So we've been past our hour.
But this is great. That's not a problem whatsoever.
6.
That's not a problem
Thank
whatsoever.
you so much.
I thank you.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, man, just to know that you have been a force for the preservation.
Oh, then let me just say this right here as you wind up. One of the nicest, cutest things was, I'm a sinner, but raised in a Christian background. The mustard seeds, the faith the size of mustard seeds. So I would get the little jar of the mustard seeds and pass them out to people. And then this guy who used to be the Governor Mike Hayden, he wouldn't take none of my mustard seeds, and he had vetoed our bill to preserve the area. The first year we went unanimous to the Kansas legislature. Wow. The state and the House went office to office, and they voted unanimously, and he vetoed it. So then every time he came to Kansas City, I protested him with Richard Nixon's official portrait from the post office. So then he went to the wine got the museum, and he was out there and he was trying to be cute, talking about the history. And so I was like, well, since you vetoed our bill on Quindaro, would you at least take a mustard seed? He said, for what? I said, because faith the size of mustard seed to move him out, it'll maybe touch your heart one day, and you'll go back and rescind your veto in the future while you're in leadership. He said, no, I don't want no mustard seeds. I just started throwing them at his damn feet. But now that would be considered an assault. You can do that. Right. I would never do that, Wow. But, yeah, I just wanted to throw that, you have to work with every available tool. Definitely. In Philly, people used to throw eggs at elected officials.
In Philly?
And tomatoes and rotten garbage. If they'd
be under the jail now.
No, they did then, but now you can't do that. So, but, yeah, I threw the mustard seeds all over his feet, and he was fuming. And then he got defeated on his first re-election.
Great.
But then the state hired him to be in charge of the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Crazy. So thank you so much.
Man, this has been great. So are there any online sources that you are a part of regarding Quindaro? Any addresses?
No. We don't have no real dedicated page. I post stuff on Facebook and.
So how can they get in contact with you on Facebook? What's your Facebook?
Same as basic. Just Marvin S. Robinson II. Okay. But you were asking, one of the things that we really need is like a data scientist, and I'm trying to look into how do we get a pro bono data scientist to tie all this information and the resources together to make it really clever, attractive, and yet authentic. Authenticated.
What's your email? So I'm the listening audience. If you know any data scientists that would be able to, utilize or give their services for this effort for Quindaro, you can get in touch with Brother Marvin Robinson on email. What's your email?
Yeah, Robinson, ROBINSONII, Marvin, MARVIN, S as in Sam, at Yahoo.
Okay, I got that in my phone. So you can contact him at his email if you know of any data scientists that would be willing to extend their services.
Thank you.
To get this data compiled and statitized, if that's the word.
Yeah, because it's like a living in an encyclopedia.
That is awesome. Well, man, again, thank you tremendously.
Thank you so much.
This has been a very powerful discussion we've had, and man, Most High bless you and keep you in all that you do, man.
Thank you.
So we're gonna sign out here, Hebrew Vision Live. Yes, indeed, and you can check us out next week. I hope to have another Kansas pillar in our community for justice online live. Hopefully we'll have Brother Alvin Sykes here. I asked him to come online, so see what we can do with that. But tune in next week, 6 p.m., same time here at Hebrew Vision Live. This is Mikael Corbin Yahoo signing off. You've listened to Quindaro Ruins Live with Marvin S. Robinson II. Peace and blessings, and thank you for listening.